Good morning. Another great day in Wisconsin. As always, thank you for joining the show. Please subscribe if you're new. Hit the little bell so you get the alerts when we're live and when we post new videos. And always share this if you'd like. And we really ask that you share it, especially in these times, sharing the messages that we're sending out for people to get as much information as possible. And if you're interested in watching right now, please call in. We broadcast every day, Monday through Friday, from 9 to sometimes 10. It just depends on the amount of news that's out there, and also our call-ins. And sometimes we call people as well. So, but typically we go from 9 to 9:30, Monday through Friday. So call in 715-352-0801. And if you're seeing this after the fact, join us the next day and call in, and we'd love to hear from you. Based on that commenter about getting data and interesting information, I watched a interesting video on Fox News here this morning I wanted to share with you, so we're going to just go ahead and do that.
America shut down day 30, if you can believe it. Shut down day 30, if you can believe it. Now, the American death toll surpasses 30,000 people tonight. But even with that staggering number and all the loss of life that comes along with it, there was some good news today.
It looks like we're headed absolutely in the right direction. With almost few exceptions, you have every state that is either doing better or on the way to doing better.
Over the last 5 to 6 days, we've seen declines in cases across the country, and this has been very reassuring for us.
In terms of our cases and number of hospitalizations, number of vent that are being utilized, they're all trending in the right direction. We certainly have flattened the curve.
Net change in hospitalizations, down. That's good news. ICU admissions is down. That's good news. Intubations are down. That's very good news.
I just smiled. Like, we needed this good news. The original models were very wrong, and a lot of people have been social distancing, and other things are happening as well. We'll get into that later in the week. But amazing. Look at this New York chart on daily hospitalization. It was up behind Cuomo during the press conference. That's a beautiful thing. Look at where it's going. And that's after such a brutal 6 weeks in the city. Now, remember, it was just 3 weeks ago that the angle was basically alone in strongly questioning the models that had predicted a tsunami for New York hospitals. Remember Governor Cuomo's claim that he would need nearly 30 to 40,000 ventilators in the state? Well, today, this is what he said.
We've stabilized our healthcare situation. New York had one of the earlier curves. There are other places in this country are now seeing increases in the death rate, and they're seeing stress on their healthcare system. We're going to send 100 ventilators to Michigan and 50 to the state of Maryland.
They're giving away their ventilators. That's how comparatively well they're doing when it comes to critical care in New York. And this is where things stand in California. Now, remember, it's a state of 40 million people. It reported 76 coronavirus deaths so far today for a total of 864 deaths. By August 4th, if the newest projections are accurate, the mortality rate there will be astronomically low. Gosh, what's going on in California? Why is it happening that way? They closed down on March 15th, 17th? But can that really explain all this? Well, a study reported in The Economist that many more Americans with mild or no symptoms were undoubtedly infected with COVID-19, but never tested. That's that denominator we've been talking about. If millions of people were infected weeks ago without dying, the virus must be less deadly than official data suggest. COVID-19 takes 20 to 25 days to kill victims. The paper reckons that 7 million Americans were infected from March 8th to the 14th, and social data shows that 7,000 deaths 3 weeks later. The resulting fatality rate is 0.1%. similar to that of the flu. That's amazingly low, just a tenth of some other estimates. Well, by comparison, look at where COVID winds up in mortality, as we said, as compared to the flu. Okay, there it is. Fascinating given what our political leaders had predicted again just 21 days ago, and of course, eminent scientists who were informing them. Now, despite all the good news, there's no sign that liberal governors or mayors are changing their draconian responses. In fact, some may even be ramping them up. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti still says no big gatherings.
Until there's either a vaccine, some sort of pharmaceutical intervention, or herd immunity, the science is the science, and public health officials have been very clear. We've got many, many miles to walk before we're going to be back in those environments.
A few weeks ago, he was warning that LA County was going to be like New York City. Well, what happened to that? Thankfully, that didn't come to pass. Well, if the citizens of California, if they're not happy with these decisions at some point, they're going to need to make their voices heard. They're going to need to speak up in any way that they can. These are elected officials. They're supposed to be representing the health of the whole state and making sure people are behaving responsibly, for sure. Like small business owners, well, they did this yesterday in North Carolina and today in Michigan, where thousands of patriots rallied for a reopening. We're going to talk to an organizer in a moment. Now, today I was thinking about this desperate need to reopen America. You see it, you feel it, people are getting antsy, but not just because they want to go out to a restaurant, because they sense what's really happening. And then the ongoing violations of our civil liberties in the shutdown, we've been documenting them. Well, I ran across a recent Vanity Fair interview with Anthony Fauci. And the question to him, believe it or not, was about whether it's safe during the crisis for people to use the hookup apps like Tinder and Grindr. Well, he answered the question, and here's what he said. You know, that's tough because it's what's called relative risk. Everybody has their own tolerance for risks. You could figure out if you want to meet somebody, if you're looking for a friend, well, sit in a room and put a mask on and, you know, chat a bit. If you want to go a little bit more intimate, well, then that's your choice regarding a risk. Bingo! Okay. Life is filled with risks, in other words. We should all be careful and we should all be responsible, but the government cannot, nor it really should try to eliminate all risks associated with COVID-19 any more than it could with the H1N1 or the swine flu. When we step out of the door, when we walk onto the streets, we enter a building, we get into a car, get on a bike, there are always relative risks. But the damage to millions and millions of lives, including children's lives, and our basic freedoms during the shutdown, that's also very real. And for many, it has been absolutely devastating. Many are willing to take the risk of contracting the virus. We've seen that in the polling, frankly, what they rate as more worrisome to them. And they would risk this in order to preserve their way of life.
There's also death involved in keeping it close. When you look at mental health, when you look at suicides, suicide hotlines which are exploding, people that didn't take drugs and now they're becoming drug addicted because they're going through a problem, they have no job, they have no money coming in. We have to get back to work.
For President Trump, all of America is the patient. And if we don't reopen soon, she's going to flatline. And those are my thoughts at the end of day 30. America in shutdown.
Getting stuck sucks.
Hang on a
At
quick
HostGator,
second.
you can get the website you need for where you're at or where you're going.
All right. So, interesting that Fox News is saying the same thing that I've been saying for weeks. It was nice to see
Well, after the
something
state of New York,
to
no state.
that addressed.
But first, America in shutdown.
Hang on,
day
I'm trying to
30,
get
if you
one
can.
back to my channel here. Because I want to play a video that I put onto the site here very early on, just as a reminder of what I was sharing back then. related to the title Emperor's New Clothes. COVID flu expert offers some truth. Well, this one doesn't have the... I'll put it in the link. So, basically, Fox News is saying the same thing I've been saying. And it's interesting that New York has been presenting the idea that they are under crisis, under siege, and now are ready to start sending vital components to take care of patients away. I mean, that's a real indicator of what was truly going on in New York. I mean, of course, the governor wanted to make it what it was so that he could take the actions he's taking, just like in LA, just in other parts of the country. His comments related to a vaccine. I mean, there is no vaccine for a virus. We don't have them for anything else that are viruses related to the flu. So we're going to have a flu shot with strains of COVID-19, and people are going to have to decide whether they're willing to take it. And why they're not modifying the flu shot, why they're not collecting antibodies already, because we don't see any news articles about them collecting antibodies yet, I can't tell you. Also, we have some proven data as to how to attack this virus when it happens, and that's with hydroxychloroquine and zinc. And so why this push by the governors to stay away from that program and why everybody's afraid of it, they're providing no data. The only thing you can take from that when you're watching this article and watching what's happening around the country is that they don't want that yet. They want to continue to make this be something that's more serious so that they can continue to make the decisions they're making. They're all coming up against if they have 60-day deadlines, but I'm going to have a link to that section of Wisconsin's code, and I would imagine most states have the same thing, where the legislatures could have taken action already. They could have canceled the emergency or modified the emergency or addressed the data, made sure the data was being correlated to the flu, made sure we were making really good decisions based on what we allow to happen every day. And as I've harped for the last 3 weeks, we let people die from the flu every year. We don't stop. You're doing the same thing. You go to your neighbor's house, they've got the flu, they don't know it, they give it to you. You go see grandma, grandma gets the flu. Unfortunately, grandma has a problem, gets influenza, maybe turns into pneumonia, and she passes away. I mean, we let this happen every day and nobody cares. And the governors are advocating that they're not going to do anything until there's a vaccine. Well, that means they just want to hang on to the power because it's not realistic and they're just trying to scare everybody. So, good information. And I think that on the lines of what's happening economically to states and economically to the citizens of the states, here in Wisconsin, we had a bill passed that basically just green-lighted what we're going to get from the federal government. It didn't address how the state of Wisconsin was going to come out and help people who are fighting not having health insurance and not getting enough money each week being laid off. $370 a week doesn't cut it for anyone. Anybody that has a job that pays them in excess of $40,000 a year is going to have to make dramatic changes to their lifestyle and potentially lose things. And lose different components and risk damaging their credit scores because they can't make payments and their institutions or financial institutions aren't willing to work with them. I will give a shout out for us. Our credit union, Covantage Credit Union, is doing a stellar job of working with us. I am probably never going to leave Covantage Credit Union. So if you're experiencing the same thing, I strongly advocate that you make sure those institutions know it and share with people that, listen, during this time of crisis, Covantage Credit Union or your credit union has gone above and beyond the call of duty. And again, I just want to throw a shout out to them because they're doing it, but that's not their responsibility. Businesses are in the business to make money. So if the state's going to impose something, then the state should be dealing with it and the state should be taking care of it and not depending on businesses to sacrifice their profits to make that happen. That's a Republican idea and that's not being presented by anyone. So if you're a Republican in the legislature, you should be protecting businesses' rights to make a profit. How do you do that? You take responsibility for the decisions you made, and you get the revenue stream going out to the consumer. The consumer continues to buy, the consumer continues to pay. Because if the government took responsibility and just simply continued people's salaries until this is done, the banks wouldn't need to give forbearances. Everybody just still make their payments, go buy their groceries, and buy a few things now and again like they always have. And that would be how you sustain this instead of complaining. In the state of Wisconsin, we have a surplus. I'm being told it's as much as $2 billion in unemployment. They have more than enough money to handle 330,000 people currently on unemployment benefits, which is nothing. I mean, we're probably exceeding 20 or 30 million people nationwide that are filing unemployment claims. And so it's important that we continue to push our legislatures to take responsibility, to act quicker, and get this taken care of so people aren't wondering what's going to happen. Okay, and so as I said, once again, Do Nothing Tom Tiffany isn't providing any leadership at the state level. How's he going to provide that leadership in the District 7? I mean, he's just going to simply go along with the crowd. We can expect the same thing from him as anybody else that's been in that office for a long time. So that's a shame. And if you feel like there's something different, then you can always take a look at me and reach out to me, because I am still running for that office. And but right now, my objective is to focus on getting information, advocating for the people of Wisconsin, and continuing to carry that message to the state legislature. And hopefully some of you will start following me and calling your legislature and telling them that they are being irresponsible in their actions and that they need to step up and do something. All right. I did like the commentator's comment related to life is filled with risks. It always has been. And you just have to manage those risks. And that's an important part of being American. We make our own decisions and our own choices. All right, nomination papers. So again, if you run into anybody that's trying to get your signature person to person, you probably should turn them in. You need to make sure that the Wisconsin Election Commission understands what you're up against. I will be putting out my nomination papers on my website here today or tomorrow. And of course, if you're seeing this video, I'd appreciate any help you can give me. You simply go to the website, download the nomination paper, put your signature on there, and sign as the person collecting the signature, and you can mail that back to me. All that information's going to be updated here in the next day or two. All right, that would be great. Interesting story too I saw today was no SBA loans for strip clubs and politicians. Interesting that the two of them are put together. Strip clubs, politicians. Just wanted to highlight that for you. And they're actually suing, saying we should be able to get an SBA loan. And so these political organizations are saying they should be able to apply for that money to help them with their campaigns, which I don't think, unless we're going to institute a policy where states are going to help all candidates in the same way, meaning they're going to give them the same dollars that they would give any political group that provides for any equality in the election process. So it's absolutely ridiculous that that would happen. Now, strip clubs, I don't understand why they're personally going after those. I mean, do I think they should get money? Well, I mean, if we're going to make them legal and they're a legal entity and they're operating within this confines of the law, sure. If they always have problems with the law, maybe not. And whether you personally agree with them or not, that's not really how the government works. I mean, there are a lot of different groups that I don't agree with, but they still have the right to be here and the right to do what they're doing. So as long as they're operating within whatever business rules they have where they're located, then they should be able to apply for the same thing, because those people are still human beings trying to pay their bills. All right, that's my thought on that today. COVID-19. Sorry, my other source of information fell down here. Let me see what we can find this morning. Generally, the trend, as you saw, is that the curve is flattened and starting to go down. Obviously so, if all of a sudden Cuomo is ready to start handing out PPE and ventilators to other states, because he probably understands that it's going down, or he's going to cry wolf and then say, hey, I need more equipment because they don't have enough. And he'll hope we forgot this article that was out saying, hey, I'm going to hand them out. So you got to wonder. All right. So I went to Wisconsin first. Let's see what's going on nationally. So this was updated. Sorry, I'm trying to get this page to update. Give me just a quick second. So this data was updated on the 15th, and we have 605,390 new cases, total cases, I'm sorry, and total deaths currently stand at 24,582. So definitely slowing down in terms of how quickly the deaths are coming in. Interesting, we're starting to see on that site information related to race. I'm trying to get to the chart showing, again, the flattening of the curve. So we have, the curve has been flattening for some time. And so whether or not that's an opportunity to make a change, if you follow this data and you agree with what's going on, then you'd say no. If you look at the data and it's compared to the flu, and like the article that I showed in the beginning of the show, you're saying, I don't know why we're locked down the way we are. So it comes down to opinion at this point. Just trying to get that out there in front of everybody, and spend some time on the CDC website and compare this information to the flu data. And I think you'll be surprised. In Wisconsin here, everybody, good morning in Wisconsin. We have 39,326 negative test results, and we have 3,721 positive test results. Again, remember, that means they showed symptoms, but are they in the hospital? No, not all of them are. Only about a third of those people are in the hospital. We still don't know how many of those people are in the ICU. It doesn't talk about how many have recovered. It just simply tells us we've had a total of 182 deaths. I do know you can find more detailed information on the Wisconsin Health Organization site in terms of the demographics, but overall the demographics are 90% of the people who are unfortunately succumbing to the disease are no different than influenza, in the sense that they're generally 70 up and up. So, and as always, nobody wants to see anybody die. I mean, it's always tragic. However, in terms of how we cope with that on a day-to-day basis, we need to get comfortable with the fact that we're going to get the flu no matter what strain it is. We always have. And then things are going to happen. And for years, we've done nothing. So, I mean, while the no deaths policies are becoming the norm with the governors, they're not addressing then why aren't we doing it with just the standard flu? I mean, plenty of people die from that every day. And we have no vaccine. And we only have a flu shot. And not everybody takes the flu shot. All right. So that's the COVID data for this morning. And as always, thank you again for joining us. If you're just, tuning in, please subscribe if you're new. Please like the video or dislike the video. Looking for feedback either way. Please comment down in the comment section below. And please share this video. I mean, if you find it of interest and you find it entertaining or one or the other, share it with your friends. Let's keep this dialogue going, and I would love to see more comments and opinions in the comment section or call-ins. Again, you can call in at 715-352-0801. And so let's just see how we can make that happen over the coming weeks. Okay, and campaign update. At this point, my campaign for District 7 in Wisconsin, we are going to continue through the nomination papers. And of course, if I do get on the ballot, then we'll continue from there. But right now, strong concern with what's happening is compliance with the governor's order. And until something changes, And until something changes for people of Wisconsin, my campaign will not be going out person to person. This will all be conducted through Facebook, this show, and we will have links in the section where it says show more to get to our nomination papers and ask for you to fill those out and mail those back to us. And of course, any help you can give us to share that with other constituents in District 7. I will be posting a map as well, a link to a map that'll show you if you're in District 7, but District 7 is 26 counties. It's one of the largest districts in the country, and it basically encompasses the upper half of Wisconsin. And I would think that with that many people in the district, they would be looking for someone who is going to be providing leadership and getting information that is real and not worrying about elections and not worrying about whether or not you're going to give them a donation, but instead, as a state senator, making sure that they're providing leadership at that level and demonstrating how their leadership will be handled going forward. And obviously, from my comments, you can tell that I am absolutely not only disgusted with Tom Tiffany's lack of leadership, but to be honest with you, everyone else's at this point. And as I've said before, the way you demonstrate your displeasure with politicians is you vote them out. And I would strongly suggest you make that decision for May 12th and determine which candidate for the short 5 months that they'll be in office should be there. And definitely people who are not going to do anything or not going to provide any leadership should be the last person you vote for. And whether or not you'd have to vote against your party, you might need to do that too. And a lot of the people who fall in between right and left vote either side of the aisle all the time. So you need to take a real look at that. Unfortunately, with the special election, neither candidate's doing much of anything to provide any leadership or comment in terms of how the legislature should be responding for the people of Wisconsin. Also, an important reporting date happened yesterday. So we, as candidates, had to give our financial reports and have them for the campaign committees and have that in by midnight yesterday. So there'll be updated data from everyone involved, even PACs and super PACs. And what would be interesting for you to note is the level of dollars being spent to endorse Tom Tiffany. Which should be of great concern for you because they're not spending $5,000. Some of them are spending $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 on Tom Tiffany, and they're going to want something back for that. And you should be very concerned about backing or endorsing candidates who are backed by large political organizations that really have nothing to do with the state of Wisconsin. So we'll have a link to that in the shows as well. And you can check out that data as you're making your decision and deciding who you're going to sign for. National update, protesting has started. So people are getting tired already, as I talked about in other shows, that they're just tired of everything that's going on and they want to see this starting to be reopened and people who aren't at high risk getting back to work and getting the economy going, getting demand going so that jobs come back. And the governors are saying nothing or they're extending it. The state of Minnesota, in fact, extended their stay-at-home order to May 4th. For what reason, I know not. If you look at Minnesota's data, their data is less than Wisconsin's. And of course, we've heard nothing from do-nothing Governor Evers as well. He is just not saying anything as usual, and he'll wait until the 22nd or 23rd to announce what his decision is so that we as the citizens and also the legislature have no opportunity to respond to it before the deadline. Now, that deadline doesn't really matter because, as I've shared, the legislature can act at any time. They could act right now to start reopening on Monday next week. And we see nothing. And if you're watching this and still with me, it would be important to ask Tom Tiffany why he's so quiet about this. I mean, leadership isn't that you get a vote. Leadership isn't that there's a bill passed. Leadership says, okay, guys, here's what I'm saying should have been done, or here's what I'm saying needs to be done. And you're being vocal about it, and you're putting it out there so that when people go back to see what did you do during this crisis, that at least they know you were rallying, you were carrying the message, and you were trying to get things changed to help the people of Wisconsin. And that's what we're not seeing. So food for thought today as we wrap up. Again, thank you for joining me. As always, subscribe, like, share. Please consider watching the show when it's live and calling in at 715-352-0801. The challenge for you today is to think about what I've talked about in relationship to what truly is leadership. What truly defines a leader when they want to tell you they're defending your freedoms and they're defending you and they're speaking for you. If you don't care, that's fine. If you do care, I would have a hard time believing that you believe any of the leaders right now are defending us. So if so, and if you're willing to do it, put that in the comments down below and convince me. Convince me why you believe your leaders aren't or are providing leadership right now. And with that, thank you again for joining me today. Have a great day and stay safe. And we'll see you tomorrow.